Hello there, my name's Joe and welcome to my channel. Today I thought we'd take a look at LoRas. What I thought we would do is we will go through what is a LoRa, does a LoRa work with all checkpoints, where do we find them, how do we install them, can we use more than one LoRa at a time? We'll look at trigger words, how we can find the trigger words, and then we'll do a quick demo of loading a LoRa and using the LoRa stacker from Comfypop also called Pictures on Pictures. So I think that's enough. So let's jump to that. So what is a LoRa? Well, the word LoRa means low rank adaptation. So basically what that is just saying that this is a minor adjustment, enhancement, embellishment, if you like, to a main checkpoint. So LoRas don't work on their own. You can't use a LoRa as a checkpoint. You add a LoRa to work with an existing checkpoint, and they will then add or improve on a specific point within that checkpoint, whether it be improving eyes, adding a specific object, a handbag, or a specific piece of clothing, changing hairstyles. What they do, they will do one small task, but do it better, hopefully, than your original checkpoint will do it. So that's what LoRas do. Does a LoRa work with any checkpoint? Well, no, or maybe. So a LoRa is trained against a specific checkpoint, and that's what it works towards. But you will find that many LoRas are actually quite generic and will work against other checkpoints too. So it's very much a suck it and see with LoRas in terms of working with other checkpoints. But they are, as I say, they are trained against a specific checkpoint. That's what they're geared to work towards. And when you look at the details for a LoRa, you really want to be aware of, well, two things you want to be aware of. One would be a trigger word, which we'll come on to in a moment. And the other is, what is the base checkpoint that this was built against? Because that is the checkpoint that you should be working if you want to, should be using if you want to use this LoRa. However, well worth trying it against other checkpoints, because many LoRas are really quite generic. So where can we find LoRas? Well, if we go to CivitAI.com, let's just go to the home page there. Here you can pick up a gazillion LoRas. But before we take a quick look at that, just if you haven't used CivitAI.com, there is a lot of unfriendly stuff on it, so you may need to be cautious, particularly if you're at work. And however, there are filters on it. So if you come across here on the right hand side, you see a picture of an eye. If you click in there, you can filter out the mature nonsense. I just use the filter safe, and that works for me. Just be aware of that. I think the expression they use for this is NFW, not for work, because there is so much mature content. I work at home, so NFW is not for wife, because I know she wouldn't be happy if she walked into my man cave and saw 1,000 animated boobies. So just be aware that that filter's there, and switch it on and we can get on. Anyway, back to LoRas. So to find LoRas quickly, if we come, what I do anyway is click on models. By clicking on that and then moving across to the right hand side, we see that we've now got a filters option. I click on the filters and then I click on LoRa. And if you want to further filter, you can specify the checkpoints that you want to look at. So I've got here SDXL, and that's basically what you do. Now, if we take a quick look at one LoRa, hopefully this is a safe one, we'll just go in there. When you look at a LoRa, you've got the details. Always go to the show more. Sometimes there's a lot more worthwhile information there, not in this case. However, a couple of things that are important to you. One is if you want this LoRa, this is where you download it from. So you've got the download icon there. Download that to your computer. And additionally, you want to know the trigger words that you will need to activate this LoRa when you use it. And you need, as I said earlier, you need to know what the base model that this LoRa was trained against. And here we can see that this LoRa was trained against SDXL. So that should be the checkpoint that you should be using if you want to use this LoRa. Well, there we go. Okay, so CivitAI.com. I'll put a link in my comments, and that's about it, I think. So how do we install our LoRas? Well, as we saw from the LoRa page, you would download the LoRa you want. Once you've done that, I'm on a Windows computer here. What I would do is I would go to my downloads folder, find the LoRa that I've just downloaded. I will make I do cut and paste, but you can copy and paste whatever, but these files really do start eating up disk space, so I cut and paste. And I will come down to my ComfyUI folder and come into models, and then you'll see here that we have LoRas, and I would then paste the LoRa here. Now you can see here from my LoRas, I tend to I rename. You can rename LoRas to whatever you like. I rename all my LoRas to LoRa underscore and then the name, but sometimes the names need shortening or or just tidying up a bit. Some of them are really quite long, but that's what I do. So you need to drop them into the LoRa folder under models in your ComfyUI, and then once you've done that, most of the time you only just need to come across to your ComfyUI menu and do a refresh. If it doesn't come up, and sometimes it doesn't, or it doesn't come up for all nodes, then you may have to do a restart, but in general a refresh will normally do it. So that's how you install your LoRa into ComfyUI. Can we use more than one LoRa at a time? Yes, we can. We can use pretty much as many LoRas as you like. If you have a quick look at my workflow here on this load stacker that we'll be looking at in a minute, we have 3 LoRas built in that we can use. We could copy and paste this stacker and chain link them together, so we could have 3, 6, 9, whatever. The author of this particular load stacker also does a 10 LoRa stacker. I can't imagine any situation where I'd want that many, but you can do it. Likewise, if you wasn't using the LoRa stacker and you're just opting to use the basic load LoRa that comes with ComfyUI, you can chain these together as well to have as many LoRas as you need. So there you go. I mentioned trigger words a little earlier. Let's just quickly go back to the example page that we looked at a moment ago. So as I said, most LoRas, many, but not all, have trigger words which you need to use to activate that LoRa. But some don't. Some, just by the LoRa being present, will suffice. So you need to be aware, really, for each of your LoRas, whether it has a trigger word. If it does, what is that word? Or whether you don't need one and you can just activate the LoRa and that will be enough. the Achilles heel with LoRas, to my mind, really, is you have to remember these bloody words. Now, these words are usually made not difficult, is not the right expression perhaps, but it won't be a common word. It's not going to be like beautiful or stunning or something like that, because those are words that you would use generically in your prompt. So it's going to be a word that is not common, which makes it even harder to remember. So you need a way of really being able to quickly access these words, or have a very good memory. So yeah, trigger words, very important, but not always necessary. Well, I can think of 3 ways of finding these trigger words. Now, the first is, as I just shown you, go back to the actual LoRa page and find the word there. However, there are hundreds, well, there are thousands of LoRas, and finding the LoRa that you want again in CivitAI can be quite a challenge. So whilst this is one way of doing it, it's probably the hardest way of doing it. So I've got a couple of other ways that we can do it. So come back here. So the second way that I would do it is I use this workflow manager here called Comfyspace. And what this has, which is quite handy, we have this models button here. If I click on that, it can bring me to the details of all the checkpoints that I have installed. So these are just the ones that relate to me. So that's quite nice. But we also have LoRas. And from here, it does the same. It has all the details of all the LoRas that I have installed. So if I want to locate the details, the trigger details for a particular LoRa, I could click on, if I take this one here, the triangles LoRa, for instance, and this just takes you to the CivitAI page without you having to hunt around to find it, which is really quick, very handy. I think this works very well. And then we can see immediately, oh, I need this word mad triangles. So there you go. So that's one way of doing it. Another way, let me just click away from that, close it down. Another way, the third way, is to use this node called LoRa info. I recently did a YouTube on this. I'll put a link to that if this interests you. But this is really nice and handy. So you install the LoRa info node, and what this does, it allows you to select all the LoRas, or any of the LoRas that you have got in your LoRa folder, and more importantly, it will give you in the text box below, it's going to give you the trigger words, and will also confirm the base model that this works against. So this is a really handy tool. Now you see here, I've got 3 copies of this, and the reason for that is I've got in my LoRa stacker here, I've got 3 LoRas. So without having to chop and change, I can just look up the 3 LoRas, if I'm going to use 3 LoRas, what the trigger words are. So this works for me, and I find this very useful. And yeah, so that is how I would do this. So to finish off, I'd like to just demo a LoRa stacker in use and compare it to the standard load LoRa, and we'll just generate a couple of images, introducing a couple of we'll introduce 3 LoRas and see what impact they have. So let's give it a go. So to begin with, let me just walk you through my workflow. So the nodes that are in green, these are the standard nodes of a text to image setup. In addition to that, I have added this LoRa stack loader underscore pop, which is part of the Comfy Pop suite, which if you want to do this, you'd need to download this, and to do that, you'll go to your manager, install custom nodes. And what I would do is I would suggest just type pop on the search. And then you can see here you've got Comfy Pop, and then that will give you the stacker node. So install that and do a restart of ComfyUI. Let me just get rid of this and close this down. Once you've done that, you can just load the stacker. So what I would do, double left click, and again I'd just type in pop, I think, and there we got it. And so LoRa stack loader pop, there it is. So easy peasy. So I've already done that. Let's get rid of that one. Okay, so we have here the LoRa stacker, and all this does is this will go between your load checkpoint and your prompts. So you can see here we've got model, clip, VAE. The model and clip will go into your load stacker. Your VAE will go across to your VAE decode. And at the other side, we've got the model and clip, which again will go into the clips, and your model will go into the model over here. So yeah, so it's just going straight in between the load checkpoint and your prompts. Below it, I just put, just for comparison, if you didn't want to install a stacker and you just want to use the standard load LoRa, this is what you'd get. You can, as I think I mentioned earlier, you can chain these together. So if you want to add two LoRas, you could just copy and paste this, and you would just chain these together, and the routing would go exactly the same as what we've just used on the LoRa stacker. What I don't like about these don't have an on-off button. If you had it there, and there's no, if you click on the LoRa names, there's no none. There's not one. You can't select not to have a LoRa. So that's not ideal. I think the best you could do is just turn down the strength to, I don't know, 0.1 or something. So I don't like this particularly much. I much prefer something that's actually got an on-off switch, as this LoRa stack loader does. So not going to be using that. Let's get rid of that. Okay, so if we take a quick look now at the LoRa stack loader, as I mentioned before, we've got 3 LoRas here. Each LoRa has an on-off switch. We can then pick on the drop down which LoRas we want to use. I'm going to start off with the triangles for this first one. And you can set the strength and the strength clip. I'm going to leave the strength on this one to 1. So what I need to do first of all is switch 1. I need to switch it on. And I've selected my LoRa. I've given it a strength. And I'm going to leave the other 2 LoRas switched off for now. And we'll just see what difference that now makes to our image. So I've used this LoRa before. This is the colorful triangles. I like using this for testing because it stands out so much. It's going to stick triangles all over the bloody place. So you can very easily tell whether or not the LoRa has worked or not. So let's give that a go. The prompt I'm using for this image here, I originally started off with, I was trying to create that, and so I started off with the prompt from that, but I didn't really like the results that I was getting, so I played around with them a bit more, and I got this image which I prefer. So my my prompt is slightly different to the prompt that I was originally trying to copy. So anyway, okay, on the case sample, I just got some basic details. I'm using 20 steps and 2.5 CFG, DPM++, SDE, and Keras, and denoise is on 1. Okay, Other than that, everything's standard. I've got this play sound here. It's just a ding dong, just going to make a noise when the picture's ready in case I've wandered out of the room. So, okay, let's generate this and see what we get from this one LoRa. Okay, so, oh, I quite like that image. So there's our first image. And did you notice my mistake? I forgot to add the trigger word to my prompt. So I'm a knobhead. So let's run this again, but this time let's add the trigger word. So we come down to my LoRa info nodes, which are just super. And for the triangles LoRa, the word, I think we mentioned it earlier, was mad triangles. Let's copy that. What I do with my trigger words is I always add it to the bottom line so it stands out, to try to remind me to either add them or remove them when I'm not using the LoRa. So we've now got our mad triangles. This is what I should have done a moment ago. I still quite like that picture though. I'm going to keep that. And let's try generate the image correctly this time. Cue prompt. Okay, so we can see we've definitely got our triangles. We know that the triangles LoRa is working. Yeah, hasn't done too bad a job really. It hasn't destroyed the image at all. So yeah, quite pleased with that. So let's add a second LoRa. I'm going to add this time. I've no idea what, I haven't practiced this. I've no idea what this will do. I'm now going to use, I've got a Metropolis movie style LoRa. So I'm going to come down to my switch 2. I'm going to put number 2 on. The LoRa is my Metropolis movie style. I'm going to select this. I'm going to have that at strength 1. And LoRa 3 is still switched off. So we've now got 2 LoRas this time. I will have a look at the trigger word for Metropolis, and there are several, and I'm just going to use the first one. Yeah, so some LoRas have more than one trigger word because they may offer a selection of styles or changes that they can make. This one has a few trigger words, so I'm going to add Madropolis movie. Is that, have I copied that? Yes, I have. I have found, I should mention this, I have found on the CivitAI pages trigger words occasionally that they've published have been incorrectly spelt and don't work. And I found the same in some of their prompts on models and things. So you do need to have a bit of a look around and check your spellings and stuff. And then if you're finding something's not working, try improving the spelling on it. And it might be that there's just a typo in what was published in CivitAI. But I've seen that more than once. So, okay, so we've got 2 LoRas. Now we've got 2 trigger words, both on strength of 1. Let's press the tit and see what happens. Okay, I'm not quite sure what to make of that. Can't see any great difference. So, yeah, still got the triangles, but I'm not really sure what that movie style LoRa has brought to the table. Let's just do one more. So I'm just going to add one more LoRa, and this is a charcoal effect LoRa. So what I'll do is I'll come down to switch number 3. I'm going to switch that on. I'm going to select my Eldritch charcoal. Here we go. And I'm going to make this 0.5, and I'm thinking that it's going to turn this image into, or it may, into a charcoal image. It may turn it all black and white. I'm not quite sure. We'll see what it does. But I've reduced it down to half strength, and let's just finish off. Let's see what that does, and then we'll call it a day. So Q prompt. Okay, so you caught me. I made the exact same mistake again. So on the third LoRa, I forgot to add the trigger word again. So what I've done now, I was just packing up and I was wondering why this hadn't worked, and I just came back, oh bugger. So anyway, so the trigger word for the charcoal, the third LoRa, was charcoal drawing. I've now added that to my prompt, which I should have done first time round. I think what I'll do is I was going to go 50%. I'm going to go full on that and see if that makes a change. Interesting though that the once I started adding the second LoRa, it starts to cancel out the triangles from the first. But yeah, so not quite sure about that. Let's try and give this a last go, and apologies for my stupidity. Here we go. Let's Q prompt for the last time, I hope. So yeah, kind of what I expected. So we now got a charcoal rendition and greatly muted the colors, but you know, still not a bad result. So yeah, that's just my way of reinforcing the need to add triggers to your comment box. I thought that would be the best way of demonstrating it, by pretending to make the same mistake twice. So oh well, yeah, sorry about that, but we got there in the end. It is as important, I'll just mention, because I've seen this before as well, when you do switch off a LoRa or decide to stop using one, to take out the trigger words if you've got them in your comments, and I've certainly done that before, and particularly with the triangles one, because on the triangles LoRa, the word triangles is in the comment, and so whilst I had removed the LoRa on an image that I generated the other day, I was still getting triangular shapes in the image, and that was purely because it saw the word triangles in the comment. So it wasn't initiating the LoRa, but it thought I wanted to see some triangles, and so it chucked them in. So it is important to remove trigger words when not using the LoRas, as it is to put them in when you do want to use them. So again, apologies for stuffing that up a bit, but yeah, it's real life stuff. So thank you very much for your time. I hope you found some of this interesting, and have a good day, and goodbye.